I'll give you a good mic. Oh, by the way, Corey has a good voice, so I'm giving him a good mic to go with his good voice, right?
Hello.
All right, there it is.
Thanks for being here today.
Ooh, look at that. Wonderful. Yeah, he does voiceovers and things like that, voice of God. I'm just.
So the concept that came up while we were having that discussion was, in particular, kind of geared toward people who are new to the industry. It works for everybody, but it's really geared toward people who are just starting out, might not quite have the full knowledge base yet, or the confidence level that a more experienced tech would have, right? And the concept is always speak from an informed position. And it's rooted in the idea, right, that it's kind of a guiding principle, you know? So if your mindset is, I always need to speak from an informed position, when you don't, when you're meeting a client for the first time or a speaker for the first time, you want to lead with what you know. So back when I was teching, and I haven't done that in a very long time, but back when I was teching, I was a video guy, and so I'll put it in that kind of vernacular. But if I was meeting a client for the first time, I'd say, hi, my name's Corey Andrews, I'm your video tech today. I understand we've got 2 laptops, primary and a backup. We've got one for video playback, and on day 2 at 11 o'clock, we've got a Zoom call coming in. Right? And so by leading with that, you communicate to them, number one, that you're knowledgeable, that you're interested, right? That you're plugged in. You're also at the same time giving them an opportunity to share any additional information that you might not have. You're giving them an opportunity to correct anything that, sorry, that Zoom call's been canceled, right? Or it's been moved to 2 o'clock, or another speaker called and couldn't make it, right? So we got 2 Zoom calls now. If that's your mindset, right? We don't always have an opportunity to have that, to participate in those pre-conference meetings, right? Where all those details are laid out. But if that's your mindset, right? You're going to call the people that you're working for, and you're going to ask those questions and get those details, right? And that kind of ties into the second concept up there, which is you manage up, you manage down, and you manage laterally, right? The manage up part is what I just mentioned. You're going to go to the people you're working for, and you're going to manage them to get the information that you need, right? The manage laterally, think about that in terms of, and it doesn't matter what your position is at control, whether you're video or audio or doing switching, right? When you meet the other players at your table, right, or you're in your production, you want to do the same thing. Speak from an informed position. Again, I'll put it in video vernacular, right? But if I'm introducing myself to the audio guy, or maybe I know him from another show and I've worked with him, right? Regardless, when we start our interaction, I'm going to let him know what I'm expecting from him in the way of audio feeds. Now, if I'm a record guy, I'm getting feeds from him. If I'm a playback tech and there's videos involved, right, then I'm sending him a signal. At the same time you're having that discussion, you also want to talk about the particulars. I'm sending you an audio feed. Is that feed going to be hot all the time? When I hit go, is it live in the room? Or are you muting that in between plays, right? Because if he's muting it in between plays, then I got to let him know I'm about to hit go on a video so he can unmute that line, right? So the devil's in the details, if you will, And then, manage down, I think is pretty self-explanatory. If you've got somebody who's working for you or working with you, you want to set expectations. Don't go about your business and let them kind of poke around and figure out or try to figure out what it is that you need them to do and how they can assist you. Lay it out. Tell them, hey, listen, I need 15, 20 minutes to set up my control table here. In the interim, grab the projectors, grab the other things that we need to assemble that, right? if it's going up on scaffolding or a tower of some type, right? It's probably a two-man job. So there's a certain amount of that they can do while they're waiting for you to get freed up so you can go help them with the two-man stuff. You know? And what you're doing in that process is creating realistic expectations of everybody involved. You know? You're creating realistic expectations for the people you're working for. You're creating realistic expectations for the team that you're on, right? And you're creating realistic expectations for the people who are there to support you. That's kind of it in a nutshell. But before I go, or in my talk, I wanted to go back to something that Terrence referenced several times while he was speaking. And that was, why are you here? Right? Anybody remember what the answer to that was when Terrence was talking? Anybody? The answer was, you're here to help, right? And I wanted to go back and touch on that for a second because it happens to all of us, right? But particularly when you're new and struggling and gaining knowledge, you know, something happens on the show, right? Something doesn't go right. Or maybe they just come up and give you a change at the last minute, you know? And in that instant when they do that, you're not sure what to do, you know? And so I would throw this idea out at you. In that moment, when you're inclined to freeze or panic, silently, hopefully, right? But in that moment when you're doing that, ask yourself that question. Because in that moment of not knowing what to do, asking yourself, why am I here? To wit, by the way, the answer is always the same. I'm here to help, right? And then there's a follow-up question to that. What can I do in this moment to make this situation better? That's it. It's simple. And if you do that, 9 times out of 10, right, you're going to get clarity of thought, and you're going to come up with an idea. Now, you know, let's just say something went terribly wrong, and there's a screaming client in front of you, and they're going off. Well, probably in that moment, right, the best thing you could do to help is to stand there and listen. You know, don't ever interrupt, right? Somebody who's venting. You know, you'll get your chance to talk. Sooner or later, one of two things is going to happen. They're either going to run out of stuff to say, or they're going to run out of breath. And when they do, you have an opportunity to interject something that's helpful. You know? So keep that in mind. If you're somebody who struggles with those type of scenarios, that can be a very grounding technique. And it can give you that split second, you know, to ground yourself and come back with the right response and the right idea. And that's it.